At this point, I was just speechless. It's not often you see people like you flying this comfortably. That sweet moment where you could just rub their ignorance in their face a little bit. What's up, travelers? For those of you who have been following me since I was a fetus, you'll know what this background means. It means I'm back home. And today I have a story time video, but I'm gonna try to integrate a review into it. I don't really have enough footage from this flight to make it a review, and I wanted to tell you guys this story anyway, so I'm gonna merge them. So as you can tell by the title, today I'm gonna be talking about my worst experience with rude passengers. And these were passengers who were rude to me, not to the flight attendant. That's a whole other story. And this is a shocking experience because I've never actually had any type of negative interaction with other passengers ever. But on this flight with Scoot from Singapore to Perth, I had two separate interactions that just left me thinking, what the? It's nothing too serious, but I think it's still fun to share, especially since I was so shocked when it happened. So I don't know if you guys have had experiences with it. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first interaction I'm going to be talking about, and this one was by far, at least to me, the least dramatic, was with a woman who was probably around my mom's age. She frankly looked a little bit like one of my mom's friends who I really loved. So here's what happened. I want to start off by saying the flight was delayed. There were a lot of frustrated passengers because the airline Scoot just wasn't communicating. We finally started boarding when the flight was supposed to depart. So for the 30 or 40 minutes before that, when boarding was supposed to be, there were no announcements, no information, and everyone was waiting in this packed gate area. Economy was completely full, so there were over 300 people just waiting here all together, hot, with no information. So it was definitely a frustrating situation. And then once they actually called for boarding, there was no line systems, there was no designation of you should go here. So it was just chaos. Everyone started flocking the gate because everyone was so impatient, everyone was frustrated and just wanted to get on board. And they did announce that we're boarding ScootBiz, families, those types of things first. It didn't help that I looked a bit like a mess that day. I was dressed in some older clothes that I usually would never wear in a video. I had a big breakout on my chin, and I was traveling with my backpack, which was so big and so heavy. I must have just looked like a mess, so I get it. But at this point, as I'm standing there, someone comes up from behind me and taps me on the shoulder. And it turns out to be this woman, and she just asks, "Business class?" So I just said yes. I didn't think much about her tone or intention, and I proceeded to board. But between that interaction, or just her asking me that question and getting on board, was the much more shocking interaction to me, which I'm going to tell you about in a second, which was with someone else. Once I got on board, I settled into my seat. I was minding my own business. This lady came on board. It was about 5 minutes after I had boarded. I don't know why it took so long. She sat down in the row next to me, and then she stood up to get something, or maybe put her bag in the overhead locker. And then she says, I'm not going to try to do an Australian accent because all I can say with an Australian accent is pad thai. But what she said was, "Excuse me, you must be an airline employee or work in the industry, right?" I actually figured maybe she's seen one of my videos and she thinks she recognizes me from an airline she flies often, maybe Qantas, so that's why she's asking me. But of course, as it turns out, when you think about it a bit more, she was asking because she figured the only way I could be there was if I was flying for free on a staff ticket. So I figured it was smartest just to say I didn't have anything to do with the industry, since I don't technically work in the industry, even if she would have recognized me from a video for some reason. So I just said, well, not really. I'm just on a normal ticket today, if that's what you mean. Oh, someone must be well off then. How do you make your money? At this point, I was like, what? What is this woman on about? She continues, oh, you must really know how to find cheap tickets then. It's not often you see people like you flying this comfortably. At this point, I was just speechless because I've never ever had another passenger question in any cabin why I'm there. So I just said, yeah, I guess I did get a really good deal on this ticket. and that was it. I didn't talk to her again during the flight. There was nothing beyond that. But now I want to share the second interaction, which is very interesting. So after this woman tapped me on the back, asked me if we were in business class, we said yes, everything was fine. We were still waiting in line to board. Another person comes from the other side. This woman was on my right, and from the left, someone just comes and shoves me and Oscar to the side, like physically shoves us to the side with no excuse me or anything. So I just say, "Excuse me, is everything okay?" The man who had shoved us kind of looked like the uncle at every family party who is like subtly but not so subtly racist and sexist, who just like adds small comments now and then. He was wearing kind of a small vest. He was probably late 50s, early 60s, that type of age. So when I said that, he just responds, "I've been called to board." Mind you, his wife is right behind him, but he is the one who's been called to board. At this point, I literally just told him, "What do you mean?" "I've been called to board, move out of my way." I'm so confused. I just say, "I'm sorry, what do you mean? We've all been called to board." "No, you haven't." "Yeah." "You're flying first class. Or business class, or whatever you want to call it." "Yes, ScootBiz, right?" "No, you're not."
"Yeah, as a matter of fact, we are."
So at that point, he kind of just took a step back. We went ahead and boarded. And at this point, I was a little bit shocked, which I guess is partly what made the interaction that came after we boarded with this other completely separate lady a little less phasing to me. So you know when you're mad at someone or about something and you just keep going through in your head what you're gonna say to that someone once you get to talk to them again about the situation, and you're thinking, "Oh, I'm gonna tell them this, I'm gonna tell them that." Well, that's what I was doing all of boarding, all of takeoff, but also after a few minutes of sitting there, Oscar and I were sitting on the right side of the cabin in row 1. This man and his wife come along, start loading their bags in the overhead bins, sit down in seat 1A and 1C, so right across the aisle from us. And ooh, at that moment, I was happy I was in the same row as him. So I just looked over at him as he was sitting down with a big smile on my face, which was basically saying I didn't need to say the words, just my smile told him, "You are not the only one sitting in row 1. But still, that didn't really communicate enough, so all of takeoff I was still going through what I was gonna say in my head. I just decided, let me be civilized, but still get my sweet revenge. So the second the seatbelt sign was turned on, I slowly got out of my seat, walked into the galley across to the side where he was sitting, and as it happened, the seat right across the aisle from him, he was in the aisle seat, so 1C, the seat right across the aisle was empty. So I plonked myself down into the empty seat, slowly looked over at him, and I just said softly with a smile, "Whenever you're ready to apologize, sir, you know where we're sitting." And as I said it, I made sure to just nod a little bit over toward our seats with a big smile on my face, of course. And oh my God, I wish you guys could have seen his reaction. I have never seen someone so speechless in my life. Like, I don't even think he understood what happened. This was a very fast process. It probably took 7 seconds in total for me sitting down and saying that. So with that, I just got back up, walked back into the galley, sat down in my seat, and enjoyed the rest of the flight. Unsurprisingly, the man didn't come over and apologize. I wasn't expecting it. I just had to say that to kind of just squeeze what satisfaction I could out of that moment. And honestly, no hard feelings. It's crazy that it happened 2 separate times with 2 separate people on the same flight, and it's the first time this stuff has happened in my life. It's just so funny because when I've told my friends about this, when you think about it, yes, ScootBiz is a big upgrade from Scoot Economy. Honestly, this man, he's not in Singapore Airlines business class. He's definitely not in first class like he asked me at first. So the fact that these 2 people had such a snobby mentality, I'm just like, excuse me, you do know that this ScootBiz ticket for $300 on a 5-hour flight is cheaper than a Singapore Airlines one-way economy class ticket on this route. As far as the review goes, you saw a little bit of footage, you saw the seat, which in my opinion is way closer to an economy seat than any type of premium seat, and I'd much rather even fly like a US domestic business/first class product where it's just a recliner. There's nothing really biz about these seats, although they are much more comfortable than economy. And given that I paid less for a one-way flight from Singapore to Perth in ScootBiz than I would have paid for Singapore Airlines economy, it's a no-brainer. However, don't expect anything amazing. Here's the food also, which I didn't get showed during the video. It comes pre-packaged like any economy meal, and frankly, if you've seen my AirAsia premium flatbeds review, I'm gonna put it up in a card now. That's a much better product. You get the same type of food, but you get a bed that almost goes flat. Thai Lion Air is the same. If you're choosing between AirAsia, Thai Lion Air, on their A330 of course, or Scoot. Scoot would be at the bottom of my list. There really is nothing premium about ScootBiz, but it is a much more comfortable way to fly than any economy product, so weigh your option. But know that AirAsia premium flatbeds would be my #1 choice for low cost premium cabins in Southeast Asia. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this little story time. I hope this hasn't happened to you. If it has, I'm sorry. And I hope you got that sweet moment where you could just rub their ignorance in their face a little bit. If you have, let me know in the comments, or if you have thoughts on this, I'd love to hear how you would have reacted. And I can't wait to see you guys for a new video very soon. Now that I'm home, I have all the time in the world to waste time procrastinating and not make videos, but I'm gonna try to make videos as well. So until I see you all next time, you know what to do. Fly safe.